A new film, Great Awakening, about George Whitefield. I was a Calvinist long before I pretended to be an Episcopalian, and I've never heard of the guy. How is anyone ever going to hear the good news if no one makes it a good work to tell them about it? In Tennessee Williams' Suddenly Last Summer, Elizabeth Taylor's character says we're all like a bunch of children trying to spell the name of God with the wrong letter blocks. They say the story of the Bible and the Hebrew people will soon be debunked as a false narrative, and that sin was just a big misunderstanding. But it certainly makes for good drama. Welcome. Welcome to Coffee Hour. I'm Stanley Smith. At Coffee Hour, we talk about everything and nothing. Recently, we talked about connecting with my emotional self, being more positive, experiencing what's logical, asserting my negativity, and how you're not really a person until you get a court order. The readings at Washington National Cathedral were from Genesis. Behind every man is a strong woman. And from Romans, we are children in the marketplace, and we don't even know what we're looking for. The gospel reading was from Matthew. John, he didn't drink, and they said he was a drunkard. Jesus drank, and they said he was a glutton. The sermon at Washington National Cathedral was by Randy Hollowrath. Randy preached about how we try really hard to avoid the word sin. We prefer softer language instead of sin. We say we have growth areas and unresolved issues. We know better, and we do bad things anyway. It's not an excuse, it's a confession. Avoiding the word sin doesn't mean we don't do bad things anymore. It just means we need to try harder. Sheer force of will is not the answer. Christ alone is. The antidote to sin is found in the life, death, and resurrection of Christ. Come to me, all who are weary and heavily burdened. If we find our burden too heavy to bear, it's probably because we're yoked to the world and not to Christ. We learn from walking with Him through this life, not after we figured everything else out. Walk with Him at His pace. It's not rest from work, but rest in the work. We will still sin, but we will no longer be defined by it. Randy said the 4th of July is a time to celebrate all the great works we've done in the world as a nation and all of our sin as a nation and our errors. It's an unfolding process. We are both the good and the bad. America has done great things, and we have much to accomplish in the next 250 years. Wherever there's accomplishment, there's also sin. We must acknowledge both and the idea that we can do better, and we will do better with God's help. The sermon at St. James Cathedral here in Chicago was by Lisa Hackney James. Lisa preached about the 250 years of the United States, the 150 years of St. James Cathedral, and the 2,000 years of Christ's presence in the world. Other nations have come and gone, and Christ's presence remains. Many of us grew up with the idea that democracy was a settled thing. Now, we're not so sure. Growing up in the civil rights era, we saw it as progress and an example of this ideal. Later, women's rights and then gay rights followed. It was seen as an ever-widening circle of rights and freedoms for everyone. It was part of the progress of forming a more perfect nation. The framework was never questioned. The story of the United States is not always a story of Christian principles in action. It's the story of Christian people informing a nation by their example. There has been a strong overlap, but they are not the same, and that's a good thing. Many empires and societies have come and gone, yet the Christian era remains. Sometimes we believe we can tough it out through sheer force of will. The high bar of ethical living means coming to Christ without trusting so much in ourselves. Christ says, stop and follow me. Christ calls us to bear his love into the world through works of care and compassion. Lisa said St. James Cathedral has been doing their thing for almost 200 years of the 250 years of our nation, always reaching out and always serving. It's why both Abraham Lincoln and Martin Luther King attended there. God's reign is not Christian nationalism. We're 2,000 years out from Christ's call to follow him. If you're feeling weighed down, you're not following God's burden, but the burden of the world. Stop it and follow God instead. My mom is applying to have her passport renewed, and the federal government is giving her a hard time. Her birth certificate doesn't have her name on it because she was not named at birth. Now they claim she's been living her life under an assumed name. She may have to get a court order to prove she's the person. Turns out it's not all that unusual. We all live our lives under an assumed name of sorts because our parents gave it to us. We kind of slide by most of our lives until someone calls us out on it. Even Christ had to go before Pontius Pilate to be recognized as a person. And there was a debate about who he was and if he qualified to be executed. It's not inhuman. You're not recognized as a person to begin with. In the new film, An Awakening, A Great Awakening, we see that we can have an awakening on our own, but often it takes a person to tell us the good news. And in that process, how is that not a work? Is it better to do something, even if it's wrong, than to do nothing and wait for divine intervention? We all operate pretty much on autopilot until there's a major disruption or a plot development. And then we respond emotionally, logically, or with anger and love. We're never quite sure which bucket we're operating out of, but we can work on it. We might not know our name, but I'd rather figure it out myself than get a court order. If you'd like to join us at coffee hour, I'll include my email in the description of this video. I'll be happy to send you an invitation. And I look forward to seeing you very, very soon.